Welcome back to Bumblebee. You already know what it is. Top 10 mysteries that surround the pyramids. Let's talk shop. Kicking off the list at number 10, their formation. The pyramids of Giza, as fascinating as they are to look at from the ground, have an even deeper meaning from above. Located in northern Egypt on a plateau just west of the Nile lies perhaps the most fascinating structure created by humans. The Northern Pyramid, the oldest one as well as the largest, was built for the king Khufu. He was the second king of the 4th dynasty. This one, like I said, is the biggest pyramid. So when we imagine the pyramids together, this is what we have in our brains. The big, massive Goliath right there. Little white tip at the top. The next pyramid was built for King Khafre, the 4th king of the 4th dynasty. The southern pyramid was for King Menkaure, the 5th king of the 4th dynasty. Also the last pyramid to be built. Their connection to the cosmos really took flight back in 1995 in a book called The Orion Mystery. Robert Bauval pointed out the formation of the pyramids also just happened to align with the 3 stars of Orion's belt in the Orion constellation. This is the plot of Transformers 2, so yeah, people have really ran with this idea since then. There's nothing in Egyptian texts that have proven this at all in any way, shape, or form, but this list may change your mind. Cosmic coincidence? Perhaps. Number 9, Dung Beetles. Dung beetles, yeah, also known as scarabs, but also known as dung beetles, so we're gonna definitely call them dung beetles. They're the only species in the entire world that follows the Milky Way naturally. How weird is that? A lot of animals have these natural instincts, right? Some animals follow the sun. Sea turtles instinctively sprint to the ocean the second they're born, to avoid getting plucked by giant birds from the skies. They do it naturally. These beetles would naturally follow the line of the Milky Way, and then they would also roll their dung towards it. They would just, listen to what I just said. Dung beetles instinctively follow the cosmos, rolling their poop. They're just like, I must go back. We got a whole poop galaxy. So bum beetles are trying to phone home, apparently. I don't know. Symbols of these beetles are seen all over. Either in hieroglyphics or near the sacred lake at the Temple of Karnak, there's a massive scarab monument. A poo-poo buggy monument, just right there. There's even a legend still to this day behind that statue that if you walk around it 9 times, you would find health, wealth, and love. You would just become a white girl's Instagram if you walked around it 9 times. The scarab is there to represent the god Khafre, which at the time Egyptians believed was the sun, but it was also known as the scarab-faced god. I grew up thinking the sun was a baby, but I just watched too much Teletubbies, that's probably why. Are these bugs just trying to go home to their bug alien poop master? Why does there need to be so much poop? Where are they going? Why are they in a rush? Whatever DIY project is going on that planet, just leave me out of it. Number 8, King Tut's dagger. Only a few years after King Tut's tomb was discovered in the Valley of the Kings, archaeologist Howard Carter found a dagger that was buried with the king. Now, it's important to note that it's not uncommon to be buried with your belongings. It's why these tombs were built in a certain way, these big, massive, monumental ways. So grave robbers, any Nicolas Cage guy caught snooping around with a torch, they'd get trapped, ideally. They can't just steal King Tut's dagger, right? Even if you have the declaration of yada yada. No, you can't go in there and monologue your way to this treasure. This one dagger is quite the mystery though. With recent advancements in technology, we're able to use a technique called portable X-ray fluorescent spectrometry, which is a mouthful, a lot of air just left my body. But according to the Journal of Meteorites and Planetary Science, King Tut's dagger is actually made of iron, nickel, and cobalt, suggesting this material came from meteorite. So when people say the pyramids were made by aliens, it's laughable obviously, but evidence like this just fuels that fire. I don't know, do you believe now that I said that? Number 7, the Black Tomb. Back in 2018, remains were found by archaeologists. They found this massive black granite sarcophagus in Alexandria. It hadn't been touched in over 2,000 years, so we decided to open it. We opened it and we found 3 skeletons. And we also found this brown, reddish sewage water. It was horrible. Skeletons and sewage water. It's a bad combo. They were half expecting gold or some sorts, but no, not this time. They opened it up 2 inches only and the smell was so foul, everybody just ran away. Egypt's Ministry of Antiques Committee just ran away. They needed gas masks to go back. What a red flag that is. 9 feet long and 5 feet wide. It's just pretty much just a big granite bathtub full of bones at that point. There were also 3 inscriptions. That's the mystery part. There were these drawings on these small sheets of gold. One resembled a seed pod of an opium poppy inside a shrine of some sorts. The other is a snake, an unhooded snake, usually connected to the goddess Isis, the same god that Cleopatra embodied, but we'll talk about that more later on. The last one is a palm branch or corn or something like that. Experts believe it's related to themes of fertility and rebirth. Or some guy just like corn, one of the two options. I vote the first, but you never know. Mustafa Waziri, Secretary General of the Supreme Council of Antiquities, said in response to locals freaking out that we've opened it and thank God the world has not fallen into darkness. I was the first to put my whole head inside the sarcophagus and here I stand before you. I am fine. Whew, nice. Only that was back in 2018 and a few things have happened since, so did we really make it unsheathed? I don't know. Unsheathed? Is that a word? Number 6, 2020 mummies. Yeah, as if 2020 wasn't stressful enough, we also found more mummies. I'm glad Brendan Fraser is returning to Hollywood because it sounds like we're gonna need him pretty soon. This is alarming. While we were stuck inside watching Netflix and chilling, more than 100 sealed coffins were found in Egypt. The findings date back to 712 BC, which was a period where Egypt was controlled by foreign civilizations, like Persians and the Greeks. These coffins were still occupied and untouched for that long. The discovery has taught us that the Saqqara was pretty much the main burial site of the 26th dynasty, including the first known burial pyramid. That entire piece of land, honestly, is so intriguing and just interesting. I want to know what's hiding in Egypt. At the same time, I don't. You know what I mean? Number 5, sun god origins. One of the most interesting facts about all this and everything with the queens and the kings of Egypt is the impact that they had on religion. Both Queen Nefertiti and King Akhenaten were in a cult, believe it or not, the cult of the sun god Aten. Now, in the earliest accounts of the queen, she assisted her husband in a ritual that smited the female enemies of Egypt at the time, and there have been a few blocks that have since been recovered from the Theban tombs of the royal butler that depicts the queen wearing her unique blue crown, so definitely her, part of these sun god rituals. So now cut to the end of the king's ruling, the Aten was now Egypt's main god, and the queen, Queen Nefertiti, was a stepmother of King Tut, so her daughter was married to King Tut, so there's a handful of Egyptologists that believe that right before King Tut's ruling in the 14th century, there was a small window where Nefertiti ruled as a pharaoh. There's also a great deal of historians that believe that Nefertiti was a co-ruler to her husband, King Akhenaten, but we just don't have enough evidence quite yet. The reason we're adamant on finding everything we can is because she literally changed Egyptian religion. Kind of important. Number 4, Queen Nefertiti's death. After reconstructing Egypt's religious and political structure, soaring to new heights as a woman in the Egyptian court, the queen just vanished. Out of the blue, all of a sudden, just like that. During the 12th year of the 17 that her husband ruled for, historical records seem to have just wiped off the face of the planet. Her whole legacy just gone. She was gone from everything. Many believe she didn't actually die in this case, but rather she disguised herself and continued to rule. She's the man, the whole world. The next in line after Akhenaten's reign was Pharaoh Smenkhare. So is that really a Nefertiti disguise? Perhaps. I sure hope so. That'd be pretty sweet if we prove that. The reason we believe that she may have disguised herself as a man is because of the female pharaoh, Hatshepsut. She ruled with a fake beard in the 15th century. Gotta fool your followers. This is a while back. Lastly, there's a theory that the reason Nefertiti was banished was because she couldn't produce a male heir. We've gotten closer to uncovering the truth back in 2015 when Nicholas Reeves and Mamdouh El-Damati found what they thought was a hidden doorway in King Tut's tomb that contained the sarcophagus of the queen. Number 3, KV 55. Located in the Valley of the Kings in Egypt, Tomb 55, otherwise known as KV 55, was found by Edward Ayrton back in 1907. It was discovered right next to King Tut's tomb, and the reason we call this tomb by a number rather than by a name is because we really don't know who was inside. Even the walls of the tomb inside, they aren't covered with any hieroglyphs to tip us off. It's just bare for the most part. The only hint as to who is buried remains on these walls. There's one hieroglyph that remains. That hieroglyph was discovered in 1907, and it translates to, "The evil one shall not live again." That's creepy, okay. Even these massive stones were built in order to prevent anything from getting out of the tomb. Yeah, usually with these ancient tombs, it's the opposite. You can't have grave robbers come in. This one, you can't have anything get out. Must have been pretty bad. The description for those inside the tomb had also been destroyed, so we have literally no idea who was in there, or what. Many believe it's Akhenaten, and back then, they didn't believe in multiple gods, just one, so Akhenaten may have gotten off on the wrong foot with the high priests, and over his 17 years of ruling, he was convincing everybody that their art and religion was wrong, and the only god in existence was the sun god. His own son, King Tut, succeeded him and luckily restored the previous religion, but an empty tomb? I feel like we're missing something here. A major part of the story, I feel like it's just, slide that in, and then we'll figure it out. Number 2, King Teti. The Pyramid of Teti was built for the first ruler of the 6th dynasty. While it's not as flashy or as massive as the other pyramids, inside it contains the oldest writing in the religious world, the pyramid texts. These texts go back to 2400 BC. Those are some old texts, it's like some BBM type texts. That's how old we're talking here. These pyramid texts were specifically written so that this King Teti could ascend to the heavens after his death. There are also spells and incantations meant to free the king's soul and arrive in the cosmos afterwards. More specifically, for Teti to become a star in the sky and join Osiris and Orion in the God Squad. There's even instructions on how to preserve the body and travel to said heavens. Maybe the pyramids are in fact a gateway to the cosmos. Maybe those Beatles were onto something. And finally, number 1, Lord Nefer Ti Ru. For this next mystery, we'll be looking at the land down under. We're looking at Australia. Yeah, it connects to Egypt. You'll see. Egyptian hieroglyphs educate us on our past, right? There's still so much we don't know, but it's fun to speculate. It's fun to find UFO-looking objects hiding in them or like helicopters. That's part of the fun, to speculate and wonder, because we really don't know anything. We don't even know what's in our ocean, let alone what happened thousands of years ago. So when Egyptian texts appear around the world in the middle of nowhere, Australia, those UFO hieroglyphs get a bit more concerning, right? Like the Gosford glyphs, for example. They were discovered in 1970s at Karyong, and there's about 300 engravings spread over 2 sandstone walls. Those hieroglyphs are strikingly similar to that of Egypt's. There's birds, even the markings of a scarab, those Milky Way, bugs. Egyptologist Raymond Johnson believes that this is the burial site of Egyptian royal family member Lord Nefer Ti Ru, who met his fate around 2600 BC, with some tales telling the story of 2 prince brothers who came from Egypt and subsequently became shipwrecked. But other panels get into the extraterrestrial goodies. Of course, that always does. Some of the Gosford glyphs have UFO shapes, but most of them are just scarabs, birds, and sun symbols that popped up as well in Egypt. But how can they possibly be connected that far away that long ago? That's the mystery. And that's the note that I'll leave you on. Thank you so much for joining us on Bumblebee. I've been your host, Taylor McWaters. Those are the top 10 mysteries that surround the pyramids, and we'll see you next time for some more. Peace.